Alright everyone, so Pokemon Legends ZA is literally about to drop, and there's so much to talk about that I genuinely don't even know where to start. This game is probably the most ambitious Pokemon game we've seen in years, and I've been digging through every single piece of information I can find, from confirmed details to credible leaks to hands-on preview experiences, and I need to just lay it all out there for you because this is going to be wild. First things first, let's talk about what this game actually is. Pokemon Legends ZA is a direct sequel to Pokemon X and Y, taking place entirely within Lumios City in the Kalos region. Now I know some people were hoping we'd get to explore more of Kalos or maybe even see Southern Kalos finally, but no, this entire game takes place within the city limits of Lumios. Before you get disappointed though, hear me out because Lumios has been completely reimagined and expanded to feel absolutely massive. We're talking about a city that's been built vertically and horizontally, with 5 major districts that are all seamlessly connected with no loading screens between them. You've got bustling streets, rooftop gardens that you can actually explore, underground tunnels, hidden labs, construction sites, riversides, industrial backstreets, and so much more. The city genuinely feels alive in a way that no Pokemon location ever has before. The reason Lumios looks so different from X and Y is because of this whole urban redevelopment project that's central to the game's plot. There's this corporation called Quasartico Inc. that's basically rebuilt huge portions of the city, and as part of this redevelopment, they've created these areas called wild zones. These are like green-bordered enclosures scattered throughout the city where wild Pokemon can appear naturally. So instead of having traditional routes and caves like every other Pokemon game, you've got these wild zones built right into the urban landscape. There are at least 15 of them confirmed so far, and each one has its own unique theme and Pokemon species depending on where it is in the city. You might find one in a park with grass types, another near the river with water types, one in an industrial area with steel and poison types, and they all have different recommended levels, so you know when you're ready to tackle them. Now let's talk about how you actually get into this game, because the story setup is really interesting. You arrive in Lumios City by train at the Lumios train station, which is apparently where you start the game. You've got your luggage with you and everything, very immersive. Pretty quickly after arriving, you get recruited into this organization called Team MZ. Now before you panic, this isn't an evil team, they're actually the good guys. Team MZ is based out of Hotel Z and their whole job is to maintain peace across the city and investigate strange phenomena. The team is led by either Urban or Tawny, depending on which character look you choose at the start of the game, which is a really cool touch. If you pick the male presenting character, you get Tawny as your rival and leader, and if you pick the female presenting look, you get Urban. There are other key members too, like Naveen, who's a fashion designer partnered with a Scraggy, and Lita, who's a dance student with a Star U. The character customization in this game is absolutely insane, by the way, like way beyond anything we've seen before. You can change everything from hairstyles with balayage and color blocking options, to facial features, makeup, eyebrows, eyelashes, lip shades, and of course tons of different outfits. You can even visit Furfrou grooming shops where you can get your Furfrou trimmed into unique styles, and apparently the more you practice, the more complex cuts you can unlock. The level of detail is honestly impressive, and it makes sense for Kalos, since that's the region that originally introduced character customizations to the series. But anyway, back to the story. Peace in Lumios doesn't last very long because this strange phenomenon starts happening where Pokemon are undergoing what's called rogue mega evolution. These are Pokemon that are mega evolving on their own without a trainer, and they're going completely berserk, rampaging through the city and attacking everything in sight. It becomes Team MZ's job to investigate what's causing this and stop these rogue mega Pokemon. The investigations end up overlapping with Quasartico Inc., the corporation I mentioned earlier that's leading the city's redevelopment. The CEO of Quasartico is this woman named Jet, and she's got a secretary named Vinny. On the surface, their goal is all about strengthening bonds between people and Pokemon, which sounds nice and noble, but their intense fascination with mega evolution and the fact that their headquarters is built right on top of where Team Flare's secret lab used to be in X and Y makes them extremely suspicious. I'm calling it right now, there's definitely something shady going on with Quasartico. There's also this other group called the Rust Syndicate, led by this edgelord character named Corbo, who's a poison-type specialist. They're being set up as the villainous team of the game. But if recent Pokemon games have taught us anything, the obvious evil team is rarely the actual villain. Corbo specifically seems like he might actually be more of a rival or gym leader equivalent, because he's also competing in this thing called the ZA Royale, which I'll get to in a minute. And one of the coolest things about this game is that we're going to see a bunch of familiar faces from X and Y returning as older versions of themselves. Emma, who is a character from the post-game of X and Y, is back, and she's now leading Lumios' detective agency. She's going to be giving you missions throughout the game, especially ones related to tracking down and stopping rogue mega Pokemon. Then there's AZ himself, the ancient king from X and Y, who's somehow gotten even taller, and he now runs Hotel Z alongside his partner, the Eternal Floette. I'm really hoping we finally get to catch that Eternal Floette officially, because it's been sitting in the game code since X and Y and we've never been able to obtain it. There's also Malva, who used to be a Team Flare scientist, and she's now the region's Pokémon professor, basically taking over Sycamore's role. Speaking of Professor Sycamore, he's mysteriously absent from all the trailers so far, but interestingly enough, the protagonist seems to bear a pretty uncanny resemblance to him. Some people are speculating that maybe we're his younger sibling or cousin, or possibly even a secret child. That would be a wild reveal if it turns out to be true. Now let's get into the absolute biggest change this game is bringing to the Pokémon formula, and that's the real-time battle system. For the first time ever in a mainline Pokémon game, we're moving away from turn-based combat to fully real-time battles. This is genuinely revolutionary for the series, and it's going to completely change how we approach battles. Instead of taking turns, you and your Pokémon can now move freely around the battlefield during combat. You're still controlling the trainer, not the Pokémon directly, which honestly makes sense to keep the game feeling like Pokémon, but your partner Pokémon will loosely follow your movements and positioning. Each Pokémon still has 4 moves that you can use by locking onto a target and pressing the corresponding button, but instead of having PP like in traditional games, moves now have cooldown timers. This means you can't just spam the same powerful move over and over anymore, because you have to wait for the cooldown to finish before you can use it again. The cooldowns are directly tied to the speed stat, so the higher your Pokémon's speed, the faster its moves will cooldown, which actually makes the speed stat way more important than it's ever been before. Moves also don't have accuracy stats anymore. Whether an attack hits or not now depends entirely on positioning and the move itself. Some moves like Surf basically cover the entire battlefield and are almost impossible to dodge, while Earthquake damages everything in a wide radius around the user. Ranged attacks launch out as projectiles at different speeds, so some can be dodged if you're quick enough, while melee attacks require the Pokémon to physically walk up to the opponent before activating. This makes priority moves like Bullet Punch really interesting, because they'll instantly teleport you to the enemy, while pivot moves like Volt Switch teleport you away instead. You can actually combo moves together too, which is super cool. Like if you use Tail Whip to lower the opponent's defense, you can immediately follow up with physical attacks to deal way more damage. Or you could use Bullet Punch to close the distance and then immediately hit them with close combat before they can react. Entry hazards have been completely reworked too, and they're honestly one of the coolest changes. Instead of just being invisible effects that damage Pokémon, when they switch in, hazards now physically spawn obstacles on the battlefield. So like if you use Stealth Rock, actual rocks will appear on the field that can block attacks and damage enemies if you position them correctly. There's even footage of a Talonflame getting knocked out by flying into stealth rocks that were set up as a trap, which is wild. Terrain and obstacles actually matter now too. If there's a bench or a wall or anything in the way, attacks won't just phase through them, they'll actually get blocked, which means you can use cover strategically. The way battles work also differs depending on whether you're fighting wild Pokemon or trainers. Wild Pokemon tend to target you, the trainer, which means you'll be rolling around dodging attacks while your Pokemon fights. You also have a health bar as the trainer, and if you take 4 hits, you'll actually black out and have to restart the battle. Your health does regenerate over time as long as you avoid getting hit though. Since wild Pokemon target you, you can actually recall your Pokemon back into its Pokeball, keep it safe while you dodge, which is a really cool mechanic. In trainer battles though, Pokemon target each other instead of the trainers, so you can't just cheese it by recalling, but you can switch between different Pokemon in your party. When you switch or send out a Pokemon, there's a brief summoning animation where they're vulnerable, so timing is crucial. One of the most exciting features returning from Legends Arceus is the ability to catch Pokemon without battling them. You can just throw Pokeballs at any Pokemon you see roaming around the city or in wild zones, and if you're skilled enough, you can catch them on the first try. Wild Pokemon behave differently too. Some are neutral and won't attack you, some are aggressive and will charge at you immediately, and some will run away if they spot you. Speaking of spotting, back attacks are returning with a twist. If you can sneak up on a wild Pokemon, or even a trainer's Pokemon before they notice you, you can launch a surprise attack that doesn't count toward that move's cooldown and seems to do bonus damage. So you could potentially knock out a Pokemon before the battle even officially starts if you're sneaky enough. This also works in reverse though. If a trainer spots you first and you get caught off guard, your Pokemon will start the battle stunned and the enemy gets a free hit. Status conditions work differently now too because of the real-time nature of battles. Paralysis will slow down your Pokemon's movement speed and increase all your move cooldowns, making you much easier to hit and outposition. Poison damage now persists outside of battle like it used to in the old games before Gen 5. So if your Pokemon is poisoned, it'll keep losing HP as you walk around until you heal it or return it to its Pokeball. Don't worry though, it won't faint from poison damage, it'll just drop to 1 HP. Confusion is confirmed to be in the game too, and there's footage of a Roselia staying confused even after the battle ends. which is interesting. Burn probably deals damage over time, and if Frostbite returns from Legends Arceus, it might slow Pokemon down similar to Paralysis. Stat changes are also temporary now, instead of lasting the whole battle. When you use a move like Swords Dance or Tail Whip, the stat changes only last about 10 seconds, which means you have to act fast to take advantage of them. There's this dot system on the screen that shows you your Pokemon's current stat. Stages with 5 dots representing attack, special defense, and speed. They can be raised, neutral, or lowered, but it looks like there are only 3 stages now, instead of the traditional 6 stages we're used to. This actually makes moves like Swords Dance and Nasty Plot less overwhelming since they can't stack as high anymore. Now let's talk about the ZA Royale, because this is essentially replacing gyms as the main progression system. When night falls in Lumios City, everything changes. The streets transform as these high-tech red holograms light up the skyline, marking the borders of battle zones. Within these zones, the ZA Royale takes place, which is this massive citywide tournament where trainers battle to climb from rank the way to rank A. The way it works is you enter these battle zones and defeat trainers to earn points. After earning enough points, you get a challenger ticket which lets you participate in a promotion match against a special trainer. If you win the promotion match, you rank up. During the ZA Royale, stealth and awareness are just as important as having strong Pokemon, because if a trainer spots you first, you get thrown straight into battle. But if you manage to sneak up on them, you can get that critical backstrike advantage I mentioned earlier. You can also pick up these bonus cards throughout the battle zones that give you specific objectives like hitting moves of a certain type or knocking out Pokemon with Mega Evolution. It looks like you can only carry 3 bonus cards at once, so you'll want to make sure you pick ones with objectives you can actually complete. When you defeat trainers in the ZA Royale, you also earn prize medals that can be turned into money at the end of the night depending on how many battles you won overall. Some medals can even just be picked up from the ground. There's a timer that runs throughout the entire night showing you how much time you have left before the ZA Royale ends and the next day begins, so you'll want to maximize how many tickets and medals you can earn before time runs out. This whole day-night loop where you catch Pokemon and explore during the day and then battle trainers at night is brilliant and makes Lumios feel truly alive. Speaking of making the city feel alive, there are just so many little details that add to the immersion. You'll see NPC trainers just battling each other in the streets, wild Pokemon hanging out on benches and rooftops, shops and cafes on practically every corner, and there are even fossil Pokemon just roaming around in certain areas. That last one is really interesting because it implies that fossils don't need to be revived anymore. They're just breeding and living naturally in the future, which makes sense. You can visit cafes and share snacks with your Pokemon, which heals them and raises their friendship. Any Pokemon in your party can follow you around in the overworld, and they'll even appear in cutscenes with you, which is a nice touch. The city has so much verticality too. You're not just limited to walking on the streets, you can access tons of rooftops via staircases, ladders, and these things called holo elevators that instantly teleport you up. There's even this feature in your Rotom phone called Rotoglide that lets you zip between rooftops like Spider-Man, flying through the air and covering huge distance quickly. You won't get it at the beginning of the game, but once you unlock it, exploration becomes so much more dynamic. There are also apparently underground areas you can access, though it's unclear if they're available throughout the whole city or just in specific zones. Fast travel is confirmed and you'll be able to do it pretty early in the game, which is great because the city is genuinely huge with way more fast travel points than any previous Pokemon game. Tons of Pokemon from other regions are included too, with basically every Pokemon that has a Mega Evolution making an appearance, which makes sense. The confirmed Pokedex is already sitting at close to 300 Pokemon, possibly over, and that's just what's been shown in trailers. Alpha Pokemon are back from Legends Arceus 2, and they're just as terrifying as before. These are the huge Pokemon with glowing red eyes that are way stronger than normal, and they'll often charge at you the second they notice you. The cool thing is that Alphas will always know a move that their species can't normally learn on their own, so they're worth catching even beyond just having a big strong Pokemon. Pokemon sizes vary greatly too, way more noticeably than in Scarlet and Violet. The size classification shows up in the Pokemon summary screen similar to Pokemon Go, which might mean Pokemon transferred from Go will retain their size, which would be really cool for anyone who's collected huge or tiny Pokemon there. On that note, Pokemon Home compatibility is confirmed, but we don't have an exact release date yet. When it does become available, you'll be able to transfer Pokemon from other games, but here's the catch. It's a one-way street. Once you transfer a Pokemon from Home into Legends ZA, you can't transfer it back to other games, only back into Home where it'll be stuck. This is probably because of changes to how stats work with the real-time battle system, or maybe the size mechanics, but it's something to be aware of if you're planning to bring over any of your favorites. The good news is you'll be able to bring regional variants of Pokemon whose base forms are in ZA, so things like Hisuian Goodra, Alolan Raichu, and Galarian Slowpoke can all be transferred in. One thing that might disappoint some people is that abilities do not exist in this game, just like in Legends Arceus. However, there are some exceptions where The specific Pokemon seem to have their abilities baked in as core mechanics. For example, Aegislash has been shown in both its shield form and blade form, which means its stance change ability is probably still functioning in some way, even if it's not explicitly called an ability. Chara might work the same way with its form change in Sunlight. Held items are confirmed to be in the game, though so far we've only seen berries. There might be more impactful items like Life Orb or Choice Scarf, but Game Freak is probably keeping it simple since this is their first attempt at real-time battles. The fact that berries are held items is actually really useful though, as the description for Oran Berry specifically says that if a Pokemon holds one, it'll restore 10 HP automatically, which could be clutch in tough battles. Let's talk about HMs for a second. It looks like they might be back in some form. There are multiple instances in preview footage where players encountered rocks blocking their path that looked like they needed Rock Smash to break through. There are also these mysterious thorns in wild zones that can be targeted, but we don't know what move you need to clear them. It's unclear if these are mandatory for progression or just optional for finding items and shortcuts, but the fact that they're there at all is interesting. The post-game content in this game looks like it's going to be substantial too. Completing the Pokédex by catching Pokemon and finishing Wild Zone collections will earn you rewards from Professor Malva like TMs and XP candies. There are also side missions throughout the game, which are basically side quests, like the requests in Legends Arceus. These were honestly some of the best content in that game, because they let you get to know the NPCs and learn more about the world, so I'm really excited to see what kind of weird and interesting side missions we'll get in Lumios. Plus, you know, some of them are going to have rare Pokemon or items as rewards. Now we need to talk about the online multiplayer mode called the ZA Battle Club, because this is where things get controversial. The ZA Battle Club is a 4-player free-for-all battle mode where you earn points by knocking out other players' Pokemon. Matches last exactly 3 minutes, and whoever has the most points when time runs out wins and gets to rank up through a separate ranking system from the story mode. If your Pokemon faints during a match, you respawn fully healed so you can jump right back into the fight. Mega Power Orbs spawn around the battlefield that you can pick up to trigger Mega Evolution. And there are also stat boosting items that appear to give you temporary advantages. You can play ranked battles where you start at rank Z and climb to rank A, or you can host private matches with friends using link cards either locally or online. All versions of the game are compatible for online play, though you will need a Nintendo Switch Online membership to battle over the internet. Now let's get into what everyone is really excited about, and that's Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution is back in a big way, and it's the central mechanic of the entire game. Almost every Mega Evolution that was introduced in Gen 6 is confirmed to be returning, with only a few legendaries still unconfirmed, though they're probably being saved for post-game or DLC. But the really exciting part is all the new Mega Evolutions being added. So far we've seen Mega Dragonite, Mega Victreebel, Mega Hawlucha, and Mega Malamar officially revealed. According to leaks, there should be 26 new Mega Evolutions in the base game, bringing the total to 74 different Mega Evolutions available, which is absolutely insane. That's nearly double the amount we had before. The way Mega Evolution works has been completely reimagined for the real-time battle system. There's this Mega Evolution energy meter that fills up as you use attacks during battle. You don't even have to land the hits, just pressing the attack button gives you energy, which is interesting. There are also these Mega Orbs that certain Pokemon drop when you damage them, and you can pick those up to fill your meter faster. Once the meter is completely full, you just press in the right analog stick and your Pokemon will Mega Evolve, assuming you have their Mega Stone. Here's where it gets really cool though. Once you Mega Evolve, the energy meter starts draining over time, and when it empties, your Pokemon reverts back to normal. But unlike the original games where you could only Mega Evolve once per battle, in Legends ZA you can Mega Evolve multiple times if you can refill the meter. You can even Mega Evolve different Pokemon in the same battle, so if your first Mega Pokemon faints or reverts, you can Mega Evolve a different one if you have enough energy. This opens up so many strategic possibilities. There's also this new mechanic with mastered moves that replaces the agile and strong style system from Legends Arceus. Once you've used a move enough times, it becomes mastered and gets a plus symbol next to it. When a move is mastered, you can spend a slice of your Mega Evolution energy to power it up and make it deal extra damage. This is really useful for Pokemon that can't Mega Evolve because it gives them a way to keep up with Megas, and it can also be used as a finishing move if you need just a bit more damage to knock out an opponent without waiting for another cooldown. When a Pokemon Mega Evolves, all of their moves automatically become plus moves, so you get that damage boost on everything, which makes Mega Evolved Pokemon incredibly powerful. The way you obtain Mega Stones is split into 3 different methods, which is actually pretty clever. First, you can get them by defeating rogue Mega Pokemon, which are basically boss battles scattered throughout the story. These are Pokemon that have undergone rogue Mega Evolution and lost control. and it's your job to calm them down by battling them. These fights are genuinely challenging. They're not just regular battles. The rogue megas specifically target you, the trainer, so you have to balance dodging their attacks while also commanding your Pokemon to fight back. Your trainer can only take 3 hits before blacking out, though your health does regenerate over time between hits. Pokemon can also get caught in the crossfire and take damage, but you can heal them with potions and items, though there's a cooldown on the item usage, so you can't just spam full restores. When you defeat a rogue mega, you get that Pokemon's Mega Stone, and in at least some cases, like with Rogue Mega Absol, the Pokemon will actually join your team after you beat it, which is awesome. Some of the confirmed Rogue Mega battles include Mega Absol, Mega Tyranitar, Mega Banette, and Mega Dragonite at level 59, which is pretty late game, Mega Victreebel, and more. The second way to get Mega Stones is by buying them from the Stone Emporium, which is a shop returning from X and Y. This is where you'll probably get most of the classic Mega Stones for Pokemon, like the Kanto starters. The third method is trading Mega Shards at Quasartico headquarters. Throughout Lumios City, you'll find these pink glowing crystals that have started sprouting up everywhere, and you can break them using your Pokemon's attacks. When you smash these Mega Crystals, they drop Mega Shards, which are basically a currency you can trade for Mega Stones. These Mega Crystals are apparently what's causing the Rogue Mega Evolution phenomenon in the first place, so there's definitely some mystery there about who or what is making them appear. Now let's talk about the starters, because this is one of the weirder aspects of the game. Your 3 starter options are Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig, which is a really unusual combination. 2 of them are from Johto and 1 is from Unova, and nobody really knows why they chose this specific trio. We haven't seen them evolve even to their middle stages in any footage yet, which has some people hoping they'll get a regional forms like the Hisui starters in Legends Arceus, but most people assume they're just going to get Mega Evolutions instead. According to leaks that have been pretty accurate so far, Meganium and Feraligatr are both getting Megas, and Emboar will presumably get 1-2 to complete the trio. The leaked Mega Meganium design apparently has a black and gold color scheme, which sounds amazing if it's real. Even though the game only takes place in Lumios, they have managed to cram in a ton of Pokemon variety. We're talking hundreds of Pokemon confirmed so far, with basically every single Kalos Pokemon returning, including the original Kalos starters Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie, though we don't know exactly how you obtain them yet. Here's where the controversy comes in. The newly revealed Mega Evolutions for the Kalos starters, Mega Greninja, Mega Delphox, and Mega Chestnut, can only be obtained as seasonal rewards for ranking up in online multiplayer. They're not available in the single-player story at all, so if you want these Mega Stones, you have to have a Switch Online subscription, and you have to participate in ranked online battles during specific seasons. Mega Greninja is apparently Season 1, then Fennekin's Mega Stone in Season 2, and Chespin's Mega Stone in Season 3. To be fair, you probably won't have to reach super high ranks to get them, and Nintendo doesn't even make money off of Switch Online subscriptions. That goes to the third-party online service providers, but it's still frustrating that they're locking these behind an online subscription when they could have just made them available in the single-player experience. A lot of people are upset about this, and honestly I get it, though I'm trying to stay optimistic that maybe they'll add alternative ways to obtain them later. The multiplayer mode itself actually looks pretty fun though, if you're into that sort of thing. The matches are fast-paced and chaotic with 4 players all fighting at once, and there's strategy involved in deciding when to go aggressive for knockouts versus playing safe and stealing kills from other players. You can have multiple Mega Evolved Pokemon on the field at the same time, which makes for some crazy moments, and the fact that matches are only 3 minutes keeps things from dragging on too long. Now let's get into some of the technical stuff. The game is releasing on both the original Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2 simultaneously, which is really interesting. The Switch 1 version is slightly cheaper and can be played on both systems, but it runs at only 30 frames per second. The Switch 2 version is built exclusively for the new console. It costs $10 more, but runs at a smooth 60 FPS with improved performance and visuals. If you start on Switch 1, upgrade to a Switch 2 later, there's an optional upgrade pack available for $10 that unlocks the enhanced CFP's experience using your same save data. Both editions are available physically and digitally, so you can pick whichever format you prefer. If you buy the game digitally before February 28, 2026, you'll get a digital buyer's bonus of 100 free Pokeballs sent to you via a code to your email. You can redeem this code through the mystery gift feature in the game. The game is rumored to be around 5 to 10 gigabytes in size, potentially up to 15 gigabytes with patches, so make sure you have enough space on your SD card or console storage, especially if you're going digital. There are also some pre-order bonuses if you're into that kind of thing. If you buy the physical version from certain retailers, you might get bonus items, though these haven't been fully detailed yet. And speaking of bonuses, there's going to be Pokemon Home mystery gifts available when home connectivity launches. If you've completed the Pokédexes in games like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Sword and Shield, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, or Legends Arceus, you can claim special Pokemon in home that can then be transferred to ZA. For example, if you completed the Kanto Pokédex in Let's Go, you can get a shiny Melmetal. If you completed the Galar Dex and DLC Dexes in Sword and Shield, you can get a shiny Zeraora. There are also gifts just for using home for the first time, like a special Pikachu, Rotom, and the Kanto starters. If you completed the Blueberry Academy Pokédex, you can get a shiny Meloetta, and if you did certain things in Legends Arceus, you can get a shiny Manaphy. So definitely check out Pokemon Home and claim all those mystery gifts if you haven't already, because some of those Pokemon are in Legends ZEA and you could transfer them over. The camera mode in this game is looking really robust too. You can take photos anywhere in the city, even during wild encounters or in battle zones. You can send out your entire team of 6 Pokemon and position the camera wherever you want, since the Rotom phone floats. This is way more advanced than the photo modes in previous games, and combined with all the character customization options, people are going to be able to create some amazing screenshots. One of the things I'm most excited about is just how much content there is to discover. There are tons of collectibles scattered around the city beyond just Pokemon and Mega Shards. There are TMs to find, items to pick up, rare Pokeballs like Apricorn Balls which are confirmed to be in the game, and all kinds of secrets hidden on rooftops and in underground areas. The fact that you can break certain rocks and clear thorns suggests there are going to be a lot of optional exploration elements that reward you for having a diverse team. You'll probably want Pokemon with different move types to access different areas and find all the hidden stuff. The weather system is confirmed to be dynamic too, with both daytime and nighttime cycles as well as different weather conditions like rain. Weather might affect which Pokemon spawn in wild zones, which would add another layer to completing the Pokédex. Time of day definitely matters because some Pokemon will only appear at night, and you can rest at your bedroom in Hotel Z to fast forward time whenever you want, so you're not stuck waiting if you need to hunt for a specific nocturnal Pokemon. Now let's get into the really exciting part, the DLC. So officially, one DLC has been announced called Pokemon Legends ZA Mega Dimensions, which is scheduled to release sometime after the base game launches, though we don't have an exact date yet. The website says it'll come out soon after the main game, so maybe around the holidays or early 2026. You can pre-order Mega Dimensions starting October 16th, the same day the game releases, for $30. If you pre-order it, you'll get some exclusive items that are available in the base game from day one, specifically the Holo X and Holo Y outfits, which look super cool, plus a luxurious Pokeball set that contains 12 rare Pokeballs. The main content of Mega Dimensions is that it continues the story after the events of the base game and takes you to a new location called Hyperspace Lumios. Apparently you'll be going through Hoopa's portals to get there, and Hoopa is heavily featured in the DLC marketing, so it's definitely going to play a major role. The DLC will also add even more new Mega Evolutions beyond what's in the base game. The two that have been revealed so far are Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y, which is really interesting because they're giving Raichu 2 different Mega forms. Like, this actually ties into some credible rumors that I want to talk about. So there's this whole thing about the DLC potentially being split into multiple parts or having multiple storylines. The official announcement says that Mega Dimensions will have Wave 1, which is the Holo outfits available at launch, and Wave 2, which is the actual story content, and new Mega Evolutions coming later. Now here's where it gets interesting. There's been some confusion about whether this means there are literally 2 separate DLCs, or if it's just 2 waves of content for one DLC. There was a credible leaker who has proven to have inside information on Legends ZA specifically, who mentioned that there would actually be 2 DLCs for the game before Mega Dimensions was even announced. This person has been right about other things, so people take what they say seriously. Now that we know Mega Dimensions is split into waves, there's a possibility that this person saw the 2 waves and assumed it meant 2 DLCs, or it's possible that there really is a second DLC planned that just hasn't been announced yet. Adding to this theory, there's also a rumor that Mega Dimensions will have an X timeline and a Y timeline, like 2 different branching paths through the DLC story. This would make sense thematically because X and Y were always meant to represent different possibilities and choices, and there's this whole thing from interviews years ago where it was revealed that Game Freak was originally planning to make X2 and Y2 as sequels instead of Pokemon Z. So Legends ZA could be fulfilling that original vision by giving us 2 different story paths. One representing the X timeline, one representing the Y timeline. The fact that they revealed both Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y could be hinting at this split. Usually when they reveal DLC Pokemon, they split them between the two parts, like Isle of Armor had Galarian Slowbro and Crown Tundra had Galarian Slowking, or how Teal Mask had Diplin and Indigo Disc had Hydrapple. So maybe Mega Raichu X is tied to one timeline and Mega Raichu Y is tied to the other. There's also this really interesting theory about a potential second DLC involving Southern Kalos. So here's the thing, we're going back to the Kalos region for Legend ZA, but we're only seeing Lumios City, which is basically like 5% of the entire region. That's a huge missed opportunity to explore the rest of Kalos, especially Southern Kalos, which has been this mythologized location that's been teased and referenced for years, but we've never actually been able to visit. In X and Y, you could take a train from Lumios to Kalude City, which was the only part of Southern Kalos we got to see. And interestingly enough, the train station is still very much present on the Lumios map in Legend ZA, so the infrastructure is there. Here's where it gets really compelling. There are several mythical Pokemon from Kalos that still don't have proper stories or explanations, most notably Volcanion. In X and Y, if you had Volcanion in your party, you could read these journal entries at the Lumios Press building, written by Alexa, about how there's a group of people in Southern Kalos who revere Volcanion, and there was an incident where an entire mountain range exploded that they believe was caused by Volcanion. The lore is right there, it's canon, and it's specifically tied to Southern Kalos. Volcanion also doesn't have a Mega Evolution yet. We're going back to Kalos for what's probably the last time in 15 years. It would be really weird not to give Volcanion its moment, especially when Diancie has its Mega and Hoopa has its Unbound form. Volcanion is just sitting there with nothing, no story beyond a mediocre movie and no alternate form. So the theory is that either as part of Mega Dimensions or as a separate second DLC, we could potentially take the train from Lumios down to Southern Kalos to investigate reports of rogue Mega Pokemon appearing there, which would tie into the main game's plot. It wouldn't necessarily have to be the entire southern half of the region, it could just be one or two new locations, maybe a new city and a wild area or two. Similar to how the Crown Tundra added a new area in Sword and Shield. That would be enough to give us that variety and answer some of the lingering questions about Kalos Mythicals, while also giving us content to play through for the rest of 2025 and into 2026, since we're not getting Gen 10 until late 2026 at the earliest. There's also been references to Southern Kalos in more recent games. In Scarlet and Violet, you can literally see the Kalos border from certain points in Paldea, and there was all this speculation during the Teal Mask and Indigo Disc era that we might get Southern Kalos content, but it never materialized. The fact that they keep bringing it up suggests it's something they're at least thinking about. Plus, if you look at the DLC pricing, every Pokemon DLC we've gotten has been around $30 to $35 and has included two distinct parts with different locations and storylines. Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra were sold together as an expansion pass. Teal Mask and Indigo Disc were the same. So if Mega Dimensions is $30 and only includes Hyperspace Lumios, that would actually be breaking the pattern unless there's more content we don't know about yet. Now I want to be clear, the Southern Kalos stuff is not confirmed at all. It's purely speculation based on credible leakers hinting at multiple DLCs and fans connecting the dots with existing lore. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hoping for it, because Southern Kalos represents such a huge missed opportunity if they never explore it. The fact that we're spending an entire game in just Lumios City makes me wonder if they're deliberately holding back the rest of for something else. It would be such a perfect way to extend the life of Legend ZA and give players a reason to keep coming back throughout 2026. One thing that makes me think there might be more DLC content is that Game Freak has gotten into this pattern of releasing surprise-free updates in addition to paid DLC. Scarlet and Violet had the Mochi Mayhem epilogue that came out after the Indigo Disc and gave us Pecharunt as a new mythical Pokemon. It wasn't technically part of the expansion pass, but it was still new story content in it that continued the narrative. So even if we only get Mega Dimensions as paid DLC, there could be free updates that add more story beats, more mythical Pokemon distributions, or even more locations. The fact that they're spacing out the Mega Dimension content into waves suggests they're planning to support this game for a while. Getting back to confirmed information, let's talk about some of the quality of life features and mechanics. Evolutions can only be triggered from the menu, not during battles, which is kind of disappointing because with real-time battles it would have been so cool to have Pokemon evolve mid-fight like in the anime. But I get why they didn't do it, since Pokemon don't gain experience during battle, only after, so it wouldn't really work mechanically. Trade evolutions are still in the game, as we've seen footage of a Kadabra and Scyther being being traded, with the implication that the Scyther is holding a metal coat and will evolve into a scissor. Hopefully the link cable item from recent games returns so you don't have to find someone to trade with if you want to evolve Pokemon like Gengar or Machamp, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. There's a dedicated ball collector NPC who picks up any Pokeballs you throw and miss, which is a nice touch. We don't know if this means you actually get those Pokeballs back or if it's just a lore explanation for why they don't litter the environment, but it would be really cool if you could reclaim them. Speaking of Pokeballs, we've seen footage showing Heavy Balls, Love Balls, and Lure Balls, which confirms that Apricorn Balls are in the game. Hopefully they're more accessible than in past games where you could only get one of each, because people love matching their Pokemon to aesthetically pleasing ball types, and it would be great to have the freedom to catch whatever you want in whatever ball you want. The battle interface has these really helpful symbols that show you move effectiveness at a glance. No symbol means it's a status move, and X means no effect. Like electric on ground types, a plain circle means neutral damage, and a circle with a dot in the center means super effective. There was some footage from a different Pokemon game showing terms like extremely effective and mostly ineffective, which would indicate more nuanced damage calculations. But Legends ZA seems to be sticking with the traditional super effective, neutral, and not very effective system for now. One really cool detail is that when you're exploring wild zones, you can see the recommended level range displayed at the entrance gate, which helps you know whether you're ready to tackle that area or if you should come back later. The gates themselves are designed to look like the statues that used to be at Pokemon Gym entrances, which is a nice callback. Wild zones have their own internal geography too, with elevated areas, water features, obstacles, and different biomes, all within a relatively small space. They have done a good job making each one feel distinct despite being limited to urban environments. The soundtrack for this game is apparently going to be incredible based on what people who've played the previews have said. It combines the classical French-inspired music from X and Y with more modern electronic elements to reflect the futuristic aspects of the redeveloped Lumios. Each district has its own musical theme, and the battle music is supposed to be really intense and dynamic, changing based on what's happening in the fight. The Rogue Mega Evolution battle themes are apparently standouts with really epic orchestral arrangements. Let's talk about some of the specific Pokemon that have been confirmed to be in the game because the roster is genuinely impressive. All the Kanto starters are in with their Mega Evolutions, so Mega Venusaur, both Mega Charizards, and Mega Blastoise. The Kanto Pokemon include Weedle, Kakuna, Beedrill and Mega Beedrill, Pidgeline with Mega Ekans and Arbok, Pikachu, and Alolan Raichu, Clefairy and Clefable, Abra line with Mega Alakazam, Machop line, Bellsprout line with the new Mega Victreebel, Slowpoke with both regular and Galarian variants and their evolutions including Mega Slowbro, Ghastly line with Mega Gengar, Onix which evolves into Steelix later, Kangaskhan with Mega Kangaskhan, Staryu and Starmie with Starmie, potentially getting a Mega according to League Pinsir with Mega Pinsir, Magikarp and Gyarados with Mega Gyarados, all the original evolutions, Aerodactyl with Mega Aerodactyl, and the Dratini line with the new Mega Dragonite. From Johto, we have the starters Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile with their evolutions, and leaks suggest Meganium and Feraligatr are getting Megas. There's Ariados, Pichu, the Mareep line with Mega Ampharos, Espeon and Umbreon, Slowking with both regular and Galarian forms, Steelix with Mega Steelix, Heracross with Mega Heracross, Skarmory, which might be getting a Mega based on leaks and the design sounds sick with black and gold coloring, Houndour and Houndoom with Mega Houndoom, and the Larvitar line with Mega Tyranitar. The Hoenn representation is huge with all three starters and their Mega evolutions confirmed, so Mega Sceptile, Mega Blaziken, and Mega Swampert. We've got the Ralts line with Mega Gardevoir, the Iron line with Mega Aggron, Meditite and Medicham with Mega Medicham, Electrike and Manectric with Mega Manectric, Roselia, which evolves into Roserade, Carvanha and Sharpedo with Mega Sharpedo, Numel and Camerupt with Mega Camerupt, Swablu and Altaria with Mega Altaria, Barboach, Shuppet and Banette with Mega Banette, Absol with Mega Absol, which has been featured heavily in marketing, Snorant and Glalie with Mega Glalie, and the Bagon line with Mega Salamence, plus Beldum line with Mega Metagross. From Sinnoh, we have Budu, Roserade, Baneri, and Lopunny with Mega Lopunny, the Gible line with Mega Garchomp, Riolu and Lucario with Mega Lucario, Hippopotas and Hippowdon. The Unova Pokemon include the starter Tepig and presumably its evolutions with Emboar, likely getting a Mega, Patrat, and Watchog. The Elemental Monkeys Pansage, Pansear, and Panpour with their evolutions, Drillbur and Excadrill, which is rumored to be getting a Mega, Audino with Mega Audino, Venipede line with Scolipede potentially getting a Mega, Sandile line, Scraggy and Scrafty with Scrafty, rumored to have a controversial looking Mega, Trubbish and Garbodor, Emolga, Tynamo line, Litwick line with Chandelure potentially getting a Mega, and Stunfisk. The Kalos Pokemon are obviously well represented since this is their region. We have all 3 Kalos starters with Mega Chestnut, Mega Delphox, and Mega Greninja, though again those last 3 are locked behind online seasonal rewards. There's Bunnelby and Diggersby the Fletchling line with Talonflame, who's just the coolest bird Pokemon, in my opinion. Scatterbug line, Litleo and Pyroar, which is rumored to be getting a Mega, Flabébé, and Floette with the special Eternal Floette that belongs to AZ, hopefully being catchable. Flores and Floette, Skiddo and Gogoat, Pancham and Pangoro, multiple Furfrou forms, Esper and Meowstix with both male and female forms, Honage line with Aegislash rumored to be getting a Mega, Spritzy and Aromatisse, Swirlix and Slurpuff, Inkay and Malamar with the new Mega Malamar, Binacle and Barbaracle, Skrelp and Dragolj which is supposed to get a Mega, Clauncher and Clawitzer, Helioptile and Heliolisk, Tyrant and Tyrantrum, Amora and Aurorus, Sylveon, Hawlucha with the new Mega Hawlucha which looks absolutely incredible, Harbink, Gumi with both regular and Hisuian forms and their evolutions, Klefki, Phantump and Trevenant, Pumpkaboo and Gorgeist, Noibat and Noivern, which desperately needs a Mega, and of course Zygarde with its 10% form, 50% form, and complete form, with complete form rumored to be getting a Mega evolution with a big cannon, which sounds insane. There are even a couple Gen 8 Pokemon confirmed with Drampa and Phalanx being the only ones shown so far. The total confirmed Pokedex is sitting somewhere around 300 Pokemon give or take, which is a really solid number for a game that takes place entirely in one city. The variety is there and pretty much every type is well represented. Now let's talk about some things that are still unknown or unclear. We don't know exactly how natures work in this game. We've seen the arrows indicating nature effects on stat screens and preview footage, so natures are definitely in the game, but we don't know if they're as impactful as in traditional games or if they've been adjusted for the real-time battle system. IVs and EVs are also a mystery. Legends Arceus replaced them with effort levels, which were way more transparent and easier to understand, so EZA might do something similar. Or they might just keep the traditional system since this game seems to be more focused on competitive viability with its online modes. We also don't know how breeding works or if it's even in the game. Legends Arceus didn't have breeding at all, but that game took place in the past when the practice wasn't established yet. Legends ZA is set in the future, so there's no lore reason why breeding couldn't exist, but we haven't seen any confirmation of it. If breeding isn't in the game, that's going to make getting competitive Pokemon with good stats and the right abilities way harder, assuming abilities exist in some form. Though if abilities don't exist, then breeding becomes less important anyway, since you're mainly just looking for good stats. Shiny hunting is confirmed to be possible since this is a Pokemon game, and shinies are always in there, but we don't know what methods will be available. Can you soft reset for shiny starters? Will there be a shiny charm? Can you chain encounters like in Let's Go? Will there be mass outbreaks like in Legends Arceus? These are all questions we won't know the answers to until the game comes out. What we do know is that when you knock out a Pokemon, its body stays on the field for a limited time with a star effect before disappearing. So shiny hunters need to be quick about throwing their balls before the Pokemon despawns. We don't know if there are any new Pokemon besides Mega Evolutions. Like, are there any regional forms besides the ones being transferred from other games? Are there any completely new Pokemon being introduced? It seems unlikely given that the focus is so heavily on Megas, but you never know. There could be a new mythical Pokemon tied to the plot. Maybe something related to the Mega Crystals or Hyperspace Lumios in the DLC. The performance and graphics are still a bit of a question mark, especially on the original Switch, and Scarlet and Violet were notoriously bad performance-wise. Game Freak has said they're working hard to optimize ZA, and the fact that there's a dedicated Switch 2 version running at 60 FPS suggests they're taking performance more seriously this time. But for people playing on Switch 1, it remains to be seen how well the game will actually run, especially in areas with lots of Pokemon and trainers on screen at once. The previews people have played were on Switch 2 hardware-controlled environments, so we won't really know until regular players get their hands on it. Another unknown is exactly how long the game is. Preview players got to experience maybe the first hour or two of gameplay, but we don't know how many wild zones there are in total, how many ranks you have to climb, how many rogue mega Pokemon there are to defeat, or how extensive the post-game is. Legends Arceus was a pretty meaty game with a lot of post-game content, including the whole Arceus encounter and completing this Pokédex, get the shiny charm, so hopefully ZA follows that same structure. Something I'm really curious about is whether there will be any connection or crossover with Pokemon Champions, the new mobile game that's also releasing around the same time. We know that Mega Dragonite from ZA will be transferable to Champions, which suggests some level of connectivity between the two games. Could there be exclusive Pokemon or items you can get by linking the two? Could your progress in one affect the other? This is all speculation, but it would make sense for Game Freak and the Pokemon Company to create some synergy between their major 2025 releases. The modding and hacking scene for this game is going to be interesting. Legends Arceus got modded pretty extensively with people creating custom Pokemon, new areas, difficulty hacks, and more. ZA will probably be the same. And with all the new Mega Evolutions, people are going to want to data mine the game immediately to see every single new Mega design, which means we'll probably know everything within a few days of release whether we want to or not. In terms of preparing for the game's release, there are a few things you should do. First, make sure you have enough storage space on your Switch. The game is estimated at 5 to 10 gigs, but could be up to 15 with patches, so clear out some old games if you need to. Second, connect your Pokemon Home account to your Switch if you haven't already, and claim all those mystery gift Pokemon I mentioned earlier if you've completed the Pokédexes in previous games. Third, if you care about the pre-order bonuses, decide whether you're going physical or digital, and whether you want the Mega Dimensions DLC pass for the holo outfits. Fourth, charge up all your controllers and make sure your Switch firmware is updated, because there's usually a system update required when new Pokemon games launch. And fifth, maybe replay Pokemon X and Y to refresh yourself story and characters, since a lot of them are returning in older forms. If you're planning to shiny hunt, now would be a good time to stock up on shinies from other games that you want to transfer over. Shiny Zygarde is huntable in the Dynamax adventures from Crown Tundra and Sword and Shield, and that's definitely one you want to have since Zygarde is the mascot of this game. Any Pokemon that has a Mega Evolution is worth hunting for in previous games too, since you know they'll be in ZA. One last thing I want to mention is just how excited I am for this game from a world-building perspective. Pokemon games have always had interesting lore, but they rarely dive deep into it, or make it central to the experience. Legends Arceus did a great job exploring the ancient history of Sinnoh and the relationship between humans and Pokemon in the past, and ZA looks like it's going to do the same but for the future. The whole concept of urban redevelopment and integrating wild Pokemon into a modern city environment is fascinating. And the mystery around what's causing the rogue Mega Evolutions and what Quasar Tico is really up to has me hooked already. Plus the fact that we're seeing older versions of X and Y characters and finding out what happened to them over the years is really cool from a continuity standpoint. Pokemon isn't usually great about maintaining continuity between games, so having this direct sequel that addresses lingering plot threads from X and Y is really refreshing. The fact that this game is taking such big risks with the real-time battle system also has me hopeful for the future of the franchise. Whether ZA's combat system works perfectly or has some issues, the willingness to try something completely new and shake up the formula that's been in place for almost 30 years shows that Game Freak is listening to feedback about the series getting stale. If this goes well, we could see real-time battles become a permanent part of the series, or at least a recurring option in future games. And if it doesn't work perfectly, at least they tried something ambitious, and they can learn from it for next time. Either way, Pokemon Legends is shaping up to be one of the most unique and interesting Pokemon games we've ever gotten, and I genuinely cannot wait to explore every corner of Lumios, catch hundreds of Pokemon, take down rogue Mega Pokemon, discover all the new Mega Evolutions, unravel the mysteries of Quasar Tico and the Mega Crystals, reunite with old friends from X and Y, customize my character with all those fashion options, take a million photos with the upgraded camera mode, and just lose myself in this world for dozens of hours. October 16th cannot come fast enough, and I'll be streaming my entire playthrough from start to finish when the game drops. This is going to be incredible. The screen flickers. Lumios City sprawls before you, but something is wrong. The Prism Tower hums with an energy that shouldn't exist, pulsing like a heartbeat through the streets, and you realize too late that the entire city is a weapon. 3,000 years ago, a king fired the ultimate weapon and cursed himself with immortality. Now in Pokemon Legends ZA, that same king stands before you, and the corporation rebuilding Lumios City isn't creating a paradise for Pokemon and humans. They're charging the weapon again. Zygarde, the guardian that was supposed to protect the ecosystem, is scattered in pieces across the city because the last time someone fired this weapon, it tore the legendary Pokemon apart, and standing at the entrance of Hotel Z is a familiar face. A man who should be dead introduced himself as L, blind in one eye, marked by the weapon's energy, and he tells you something impossible. He can hear Zygarde's voice. They're working together, and the only way to stop what's coming is to prove you're strong enough to face him in battle first. If you want to see how deep this goes, hit that like button, drop a comment with your theories, and subscribe because we're about to unravel the most complex story Pokemon has ever told. Let's start with what we know for certain. Pokemon Legends ZA releases October 16th, 2025, and it's set entirely within Lumios City. Not the routes around it, not the neighboring towns, just the city. Game Freak confirmed this will focus on an urban redevelopment plan, a massive corporate initiative to reshape Lumios into a space where humans and Pokemon coexist. Wild zones are being constructed inside the city using cutting cutting-edge technology. You'll battle and catch Pokemon in these artificial habitats. The corporation behind this transformation is Quasartico Incorporated, and their names alone should make you suspicious. Quasars are the most powerful energy phenomena in the universe. Massive beams of energy shot from black holes that could obliterate entire solar systems. When a corporation names itself after cosmic destruction, you should probably ask what they're really building. But before we dive into Quasartico's agenda, we need to understand the foundation this entire story is built on. 3,000 years before Pokemon X and Y Kalos was consumed by war, a king named AZ ruled during this conflict, and when his beloved Floette fell in battle, grief shattered him completely. He couldn't accept her death. He built a machine to resurrect her, and it worked. Floette returned to life, but that resurrection would come with a cost. He looked at the war still raging around him, at the endless cycle of death and suffering, and he made a choice that would curse him for 3 millennia. He converted his resurrection machine into a weapon, a device that would drain the life energy from countless Pokemon and humans to power a single devastating blast. He fired it. The ultimate weapon tore across Kalos, ending the war instantly, but the cost was unspeakable. AZ was granted immortality by the weapon's energy, forced to wander forever as a giant among normal humans, watching the consequences of what he'd done. And his Floette, the Pokemon he killed thousands to bring back, looked at him with horror and abandoned him. She couldn't stay with someone who would pay that price for her life. The energy pulse from that weapon didn't just end a war, it fundamentally rewrote Pokemon biology across the entire Kalos region. That pulse created Mega Evolution. Every Mega Stone in Kalos exists because of the ultimate weapon's energy. Mega Evolution isn't natural. It's not a gift from Arceus or a mystical bond between trainer and Pokemon. It's the biological echo of genocide. Pokemon can temporarily push beyond their evolutionary limits because 3,000 years ago, they were bathed in energy designed to kill thousands. This is confirmed canon from X and Y. Mega Evolution, the signature mechanic of Generation 6, is built on a foundation of mass death. Now here's where Lumios City's design becomes terrifying. The city isn't just the capital of Kalos. Its entire structure is a massive magic circle with the Prism Tower at the center. Occultism surged in 17th and 18th century France, the real-world inspiration for Kalos, and magic circles were used for transmutation, summoning, and amplification of power. A city designed as a magic circle isn't aesthetic. It's functional. And if you overlay Lumios' structure with what we know about the ultimate weapon's firing mechanism, the Prism Tower sits exactly where the weapon's focal point would be. The entire city is built on top of the weapon, or around it, or possibly as a deliberate expansion of its design. Lumios City isn't just located near the ultimate weapon. Lumios City is the ultimate weapon, dormant, buried, waiting, and Quasartico Inc. just started drilling into it. The urban redevelopment plan isn't what it appears to be. On the surface, Quasartico presents this as humanitarian progress. They're creating wild zones inside the city, artificial habitats where Pokemon can thrive alongside human development. They talk about cutting-edge technology, about sustainability, about a future where cities don't push nature out, but integrate it seamlessly. Jet, the apparent CEO or public face of Quasartico, speaks at press conferences about harmony and coexistence. She shows graphs of energy efficiency, projections of biodiversity, architectural renders of a Lumios transformed into a green utopia. And the public believes her. Why wouldn't they? She's offering everything people want to hear, but here's what Quasartico isn't saying. Those wild zones require enormous amounts of power to sustain. You're not talking about simple park maintenance, you're talking about artificially regulating ecosystems inside an urban environment, controlling temperature, humidity, terrain, weather patterns, all through technology. The energy requirements for a single wild zone would be massive. Quasartico is building them across the entire city. So, where's that power coming from? In Kalos, there's only one energy source capable of sustaining an operation this massive: the residual power of the ultimate weapon. Quasartico discovered the energy signature beneath the Prism Tower. To them, it's not a weapon of mass destruction. It's an untapped power source. They see readings showing energy output that dwarfs anything currently available. They see potential applications that could revolutionize not just Lumios, but every city in the world. And they don't understand what that energy actually is. They don't know it was created through genocide. They don't know it cursed a king with immortality. They don't know it fundamentally corrupted Pokemon biology. They see numbers on a screen and call it progress. This is where Vinny becomes crucial. Vinny is listed as Jet's secretary or bodyguard, but his design tells a different story. He wears sunglasses and gloves, classic visual signifiers of someone hiding something. And his color scheme is green, black, and red, matching Mega Rayquaza. That's not a coincidence. Rayquaza is the only Pokemon that can Mega Evolve without a Mega Stone. It uses natural power, not the ultimate weapon's corrupted energy. If Vinny is connected to this concept, he's not just helping Quasartico tap into the weapon's power. He's researching something deeper. He's trying to understand why Rayquaza can achieve Mega Evolution naturally while every other Pokemon needs a stone forged from death energy. He might be attempting to replicate that process to create a form of Mega Evolution that doesn't rely on the weapon's corruption. Or he might be trying to use the weapon's power as a catalyst to artificially induce natural Mega Evolution across all Pokemon species. Either way, the result is catastrophic. By drilling into the ultimate weapon's resting place by extracting and redirecting its energy, Quasartico is destabilizing the entire system. The weapon's power isn't meant to be used in controlled bursts. It's meant to fire once and destroy everything in its path. Trying to siphon it gradually is like trying to carefully remove nitroglycerin from a bomb with a spoon. Eventually, you're going to hit something wrong, and the whole thing detonates. That's what's happening in Legends. Quasartico's extraction process is creating what the leaks call an altered ultimate weapon. The energy flow is becoming unstable. The weapon beneath Lumios isn't dormant anymore. It's charging, and as it charges, it's generating bad energy that's radiating through the city's infrastructure, through the wild zones, through every Pokemon exposed to it. This is what's creating the rogue Mega Pokemon. These aren't wild Pokemon choosing to Mega Evolve. These are Pokemon being forcibly transformed and corrupted by unstable weapon energy leaking through Quasartico's extraction grid. They're locked in aggressive Mega states, attacking indiscriminately, and they can't revert to normal because the energy sustaining their transformation is the same energy that's been poisoning Kalos for 3,000 years. And the most tragic victim of this corruption? Eternal Floette. AZ's Floette, the Pokemon he killed thousands to resurrect, returns as a corrupted Mega Evolution boss. Think about what that means. Floette has existed for 3,000 years carrying the guilt of its resurrection. It knows thousands died to bring it back. It abandoned AZ because it couldn't bear being near him, couldn't bear being the reason he became a monster. And now, as the weapon's energy activates again, Floette is drawn back to it. The same energy that brought it back to life is now corrupting it into a mega form it never should have achieved. Floette isn't just a boss battle. It's the physical manifestation of AZ's sin, the walking proof that some resurrections are worse than death. This is where Lysander enters the story, and his role is so much more complex than anyone expected. In Pokemon X and Y, Lysander led Team Flare in an attempt to fire the ultimate weapon. Believed the world was dying from overpopulation and resource depletion. He looked at humanity's endless growth and saw extinction. So he decided the solution was mass culling, firing the weapon to eliminate most of humanity and Pokemon, preserving only those he deemed worthy of the beautiful world that would remain. You stopped him. The weapon's chamber collapsed. Lysander was presumed dead, buried in the rubble of his own failed apocalypse. But he didn't die. The leaked information confirms Lysander survived, and the way he survived explains everything about his new role. When the weapon's chamber collapsed, Lysandra was at ground zero, directly exposed to its energy. The same energy that granted AZ immortality 3,000 years ago touched Lysander in his final moments. It didn't grant him full immortality, but it preserved him, changed him, marked him. The leaks describe his new design as very similar to AZ, suggesting the weapon's energy physically altered him. He's blind in one eye now, a permanent injury from the collapse or a consequence of the energy exposure. And he's had what the game describes as a second chance at life. Early in Legend ZA, you meet him at the entrance of Hotel Z. He doesn't introduce himself as Lysandra. He calls himself L. The name is deliberate, stripping away his identity as the leader of Team Flare, presenting himself as something new. And he immediately does something that should be impossible. He gives you the Zygarde Cube. He tells you to collect the cells scattered throughout Lumios City. He explains that Zygarde is fragmented, that its pieces are spread across the entire urban landscape, and that you need to gather them. And then he says something that changes everything. You can talk to Zygarde through telepathy. They're working together. Let that sink in. Lysandra, the man who tried to commit genocide with the ultimate weapon, is now telepathically bonded with Zygarde, the Order Pokemon, the guardian of the Colossian ecosystem. The leaks explicitly state this. Lysandra and Zygarde are cooperating. This isn't mind control. This isn't Lysandra manipulating a legendary Pokemon for his own ends like he tried to do with Xerneas and Yveltal in X and Y. This is a genuine partnership. Zygarde chose him. Why would Zygarde choose to work with Lysandra? Because Lysandra understands the ultimate weapon better than any living human except AZ. He studied it extensively for his plans in X and Y. He knows its energy signatures, its firing mechanisms, its potential outputs. He knows what happens when you try to control it, and he failed. That failure taught him something that decades of research never could. The weapon can't be controlled. It can only be stopped. Zygarde needs that knowledge. As the guardian of the Colossian ecosystem, Zygarde's entire purpose is to maintain balance. And right now, Quasartico is destroying that balance by tapping into the weapon's power. Zygarde can sense the instability, can feel the bad energy spreading through the city. I theorize that upon Zygarde was a byproduct of the ultimate weapon's power. Zygarde is known as the DNA Pokemon, and Mega Evolution was caused because of the ultimate weapon, which alters the DNA of Pokemon for them to achieve a greater evolution, so be it for a short amount of time. Zygarde, known as the DNA, inform Pokemon like Mega Evolution. I say this because where was Zygarde when the whole Kalos region was at war? Why wasn't it there to stop AZ from launching the ultimate weapon? Well, I think because it didn't exist before that ultimate weapon was fired. This would explain the weird forms of Zygarde and its weird body. It was a force created by the hundreds and thousands of souls of Pokémon which were sacrificed to bring back Fluid. And Quasartico is once again planning to launch the ultimate weapon after 3,000 years later. I believe that Zygarde is trying to save the Kalos region, but in turn it will get hit with a laser, causing it to go rogue due to the overwhelming power, where we would need Xerneas and Yveltal's power to stop it. And the grand finale is us fighting against a big bad Zygarde. Because like the previous Legends game, we were able to battle Arceus at the end of the game as well as Giratina, who were unbelievably difficult fights, so the final boss has to be really difficult as well. And when this happens, every Pokemon in the Wild Zones becomes a rogue, and you would have to traverse through alleyways and roads and climbing up buildings to get away and fight in the real time with the new battle mechanics to make your way to the city center to stop Zygarde. It's physical evidence of what the ultimate weapon does to anything that tries to stop it, but it's incomplete. It needs to gather its cells to restore itself to full power, because this time when it confronts the weapon, it needs to be strong enough to survive. And it needs a human partner who understands the weapon's mechanisms, who can help coordinate the response, who knows exactly what Quasartico is doing wrong. Lysandre is that partner. His telepathic connection with Zygarde isn't mystical, it's a side effect of his exposure to the weapon's energy. The same energy that sustains Mega Evolution, the same energy that cursed AZ with immortality, created a resonance between Lysandre and the Pokemon most sensitive to that energy's disruption. But Zygarde and Lysandre can't stop Quasartico alone. They need you. That's why Lysandre gives you the Zygarde Cube. As you explore Lumios City, as you work on Quasartico's urban redevelopment plans, setting up wild zones and testing their technology, you're also collecting Zygarde cells. Each cell you gather strengthens Zygarde's presence in the city, and each cell tells you a story. These aren't just power-ups. They're fragments of a guardian that's been broken for 3,000 years, each one carrying memories of the ecosystem before the weapon fired, before Mega Evolution corrupted Pokemon biology, before Kalos was built on a foundation of genocide. The quests you complete lead you to encounters with Xerneas and Yveltal. These legendary Pokemon represent life and destruction, the two forces Zygarde exists to balance. In the original Pokemon Z concept document, the story would have involved Xerneas and Yveltal clashing, with Zygarde emerging to restore equilibrium. In Legends ZA, that clash is being artificially induced. Quasartico's energy extractions is destabilizing the natural balance between life and destruction. Xerneas might be drawn to the weapon's energy because it resembles life force, massive amounts of vitality concentrated in one place. Yveltal might be drawn to it because it's fundamentally death energy, the power created by draining thousands of lives. Both legendary Pokemon are responding to the weapon's reactivation, and their presence in Lumios City is making the situation exponentially more dangerous. After completing the quests involving Xerneas and Yveltal, after you've gathered enough Zygarde cells and proven yourself capable of handling legendary encounters, Lysandre confronts you in battle. The leaks describe this fight specifically. His Mega Evolution is Gyarados, the same Pokemon he used in X and Y and Ultra Sun and Moon. The fight isn't especially difficult. It's not meant to be a brutal challenge, it's a test. Lysandre needs to know if you're strong enough to face what comes next. Defeating him is required to unlock the chance to capture Zygarde. This battle is pivotal because it forces you to choose. All this time you have been with your ragtag team of Team Z. It's no longer a joke or a small quest. The responsibilities of thousands of Pokemons rest on you. The previous villain of the story has confronted you to save the Kalos region. But now Lysandre, a known terrorist and mass murderer from X and Y, is telling you that Quasartico is the real threat. He's telling you the corporation is activating a weapon that could destroy Kalos, and he's offering you a partnership with Zygarde, the legendary guardian, to stop it. Do you believe him? Do you trust the man who tried to commit genocide? Or do you trust Jet and Vinny, the corporate executives promising progress and sustainability? The game forces this choice not through dialogue options, but through action. If you battle Lysandre and win, you're accepting his offer. You're choosing to believe that the man who failed to destroy the world once might be the only one who can save it now. After defeating Lysandre, he mentions something crucial. He talks about a certain Z move from the Alola region. This isn't random trivia. This is Lysandre explaining that the ultimate weapon's energy spread beyond Kalos. Z moves in Alola are powered by Z crystals, which resonate with a Pokemon's energy to unleash devastating attacks. If Z crystals are another form of energy crystallization similar to Megastones, then the weapon's influence reached across regions, fundamentally altering how Pokemon battles function worldwide. Lysandre mentioning this suggests he's been researching the weapon's full impact during his time since X and and Y, understanding that what AZ did didn't just curse Colossus, it changed the entire Pokemon world. With Lysandra's test passed, you gain the ability to actually capture Zygarde. Zygarde in Legend ZA isn't like other legendary catches. The leaks suggest you battle Zygarde repeatedly throughout the game, earning its trust through multiple encounters. Each time you face it, Zygarde is testing you, evaluating on whether you're worthy of partnering with the Guardian of Order. And each time, Zygarde might be in a different form, showcasing the various configurations its cells can create. The Pokemon Z development documents outlined multiple Zygarde forms that were planned for the cancelled game. There's the Zake form, the 50% form we know from X and Y, which serves as a base that collects and analyzes information from scattered cells. Then there were the complete combat forms, VSX form, designed to counter Xerneas, described as a feline beast or wolf reminiscent of a deer hunter. VSY form, designed to counter Yveltal, with the humanoid figure and anti-aircraft gun capabilities. These weren't fully implemented in Sun and Moon. The 10% form we got doesn't match the full power level suggested by the VSX description. The 100% complete form in Sun and Moon might be a scaled down version of the VSY concept, but in Legend ZA, with Zygarde as the central focus, these forms might finally appear as intended. And then there's Mega Zygarde. The leaked image shows something terrifying. Zygarde with a massive cannon on its back, resembling the ultimate weapon structure. Its hands glow with red and blue energy, representing Xerneas and Yveltal. The community nicknamed it Zygardenheimer, comparing it to Oppenheimer and the atomic bomb, because this form of Zygarde isn't just powerful, it's apocalyptic. It's a Pokemon that's integrated the weapon's design into itself, that's become a living ultimate weapon to fight the actual ultimate weapon. Think about what that transformation means for Zygarde. The red and blue energy on Mega Zygarde's hands suggests something even more disturbing. What if Mega Zygarde's transformation involves absorbing power from Xerneas and Yveltal? What if, to achieve the strength needed to neutralize the ultimate weapon, Zygarde has to temporarily contain the essences of life and destruction within itself, balancing them internally to create a force powerful enough to cancel out the weapon's chaotic energy? This would explain why you need to complete quests involving Xerneas and Yveltal before the final confrontation. You're not just encountering them, you are helping Zygarde establish the connection needed for its ultimate transformation. But your main group is Team Z, under the supervision of AZ. Your rival in Legend ZA is Urban, or possibly Tawny, depending on your character choice, and they're explicitly described as a member of Team MZ. They use Mega Emboar, Mega Meganium, and Mega Feraligatr, confirming that the Johto starters are available in the game and can achieve Mega Evolution. But more importantly, the leaks state that Urban is related to AZ. This changes the entire dynamic. Team MZ isn't just another villainous organization or rival group, they're a family legacy organization. If Urbane is related to AZ, they're part of the bloodline that created the ultimate weapon, and their organization's name, Team MZ, directly references Mega Evolution and Zygarde, the two primary consequences of the weapon's existence. This isn't a team trying to exploit the weapon's power like Team Flare did. This is a team trying to end it. Think about what it means to be descended from AZ. You're related to someone who committed genocide and was cursed with immortality as punishment. You're part of a family that's been watching AZ and wander for 3 millennia, unable to die, unable to escape the consequences of what he did. And you know that the weapon responsible for his curse is still buried beneath Lumios City, still active, still capable of firing again. Team MZ's goal is probably to destroy the ultimate weapon permanently, to break the cycle of destruction that's defined Kalos since its creation. Urbane as your rival creates a fascinating mirror. There's also the question of AZ's direct involvement. He's confirmed to return in Legend ZA, and his presence in modern Lumios City is crucial. He's the living witness to the weapon's creation and use. He knows exactly what Quasartico is doing because he's seen it before. 3,000 years ago, he built a machine he thought would solve his problems, and it cursed him with immortality and filled him with regret. He's been wandering ever since. Now he's watching history repeat. He's watching a corporation build systems to tap into his greatest mistake, and he knows how this ends if no one stops it. The leaked narrative detail that either AZ or Lysandra will die, with only one surviving. These are the two figures most defined by the ultimate weapon. AZ created it and was cursed with immortality. Lysandra tried to use it and was preserved by its energy. Both of them have been given extended life by the weapon, and both of them represent different relationships with its power. AZ represents guilt and regret, 3,000 years of wishing he could undo what he did. Lysandra represents failed ambition, someone who believed he could control the weapon and learned through catastrophic failure that it's uncontrollable. If AZ dies in the story's resolution, it means his curse is finally broken. He's finally allowed to rest. His death would come from sacrificing himself to stop the weapon permanently, using his intimate knowledge of its construction to disable it, even if it costs him his immortality. After 3,000 years of suffering, AZ would choose to die to prevent anyone else from experiencing what he created. It's redemption through self-sacrifice, the ultimate act of taking responsibility for his action. If Lysandra dies instead, it confirms that his ideology was always destructive, that his attempts to control the weapon could only end in failure. His death death might come from trying one last time to perfect his plan, to find a way to use the weapon correctly this time, only to be destroyed by it just like in X and Y. Or it might come from genuine redemption, Lysandra finally understanding that the only way to stop the weapon is to give his life to do so, accepting that his second chance at life was meant to correct his greatest mistake. Floette was resurrected through mass death. It abandoned AZ because it couldn't bear being the reason for that death. And now, 3,000 years later, it's being corrupted by the same energy that brought it back. Fighting Mega Floette isn't just a boss battle. It's the physical confrontation with the weapon's original sin, the first Pokémon that suffered because of what the ultimate weapon did. The altered weapon that Quasartico created starts to fully activate. The Prism Tower begins glowing with the same energy that fired 3,000 years ago. The entire magic circle of Lumios City lights up, and you realize that Quasartico didn't just tap into the weapon. They completed the circuit. They turned the entire city into a firing mechanism. This is where Mega Zygarde becomes necessary. Zygarde in its complete form, possibly integrating power from Xerneas and Yveltal, channeling the Order Pokemon's full capability as Ecosystem Guardian, has to contain the weapon's discharge. Not redirect it, not use it, contain it, absorb the energy that would level Lumios City, and Zygarde becomes a living capacitor for genocide energy, taking all of that death and corruption into itself to protect the region it's sworn to guard. And you're there with it. Quasartico's response to all of this reveals their true nature. Jet and Vinny, watching their urban redevelopment plan collapse into catastrophe, have to make a choice. Do they accept responsibility for what they have done? Do they admit that their cutting-edge technology was built on weaponized genocide, and that they should have asked where the power was coming from? Or do they double down, insisting that this is just a technical malfunction, that their vision was sound and the execution was flawed, that with more research and better containment they could still make this work? The leaks don't specify their exact fate, but corporate villains in Pokemon rarely accept responsibility. They pivot. They rebrand. They blame external factors. Jet might genuinely believe until the very end that Quasartico was doing good work, that the weapon's instability was unpredictable, that no one could have known this would happen. Vinny, with his Mega Ray Quaza aesthetic and his hidden face, might reveal that he knew all along. He might admit that he was trying to replicate Rayquaza's natural Mega Evolution by studying the ultimate weapon, that he understood the risks but believed the potential benefits outweighed them. Or he might remain enigmatic, escaping before the final confrontation, leaving questions about his true motives unanswered. Either way, Quasartico, an organization, is finished. Their technology is exposed as fundamentally unstable. Their energy source is revealed to be an ancient weapon of mass destruction. Their urban redevelopment plan didn't create harmony between humans and Pokemon. It nearly destroyed both. The wild zones they built across Lumios are dismantled or repurposed, stripped of the weapon's energy, and converted into actual natural spaces rather than artificially sustained habitats. The Prism Tower stops glowing. The magic circle of Lumios City goes dark. And the ultimate weapon, after 3,000 years of existence, is finally neutralized. AZ stands in the aftermath. If he's still alive, he's finally free from immortality, aging normally for the first time in 3 millennia. If he died stopping the weapon, his Floette mourns beside Urban and Team MZ. Lysandra, if he survived, faces justice for his actions in X and Y, no longer able to escape consequences through death or preservation. If he died, it's with the knowledge that he finally succeeded in protecting something rather than destroying it. And Zygarde returns to dormancy. Its cells scatter across Kalos again, but this time it's a choice. The Guardian can rest because the threat is gone, the ecosystem begins to stabilize. Mega Evolution remains because the energy that created it can't be completely erased, but it's no longer tied to an active weapon. It becomes a permanent part of Pokemon biology, a reminder of what happened 3,000 years ago, and a warning about what happens when power is pursued without understanding its cost. You're left standing in Lumios City, no longer an agent of Quasartico, no longer naive about what progress means. You helped stop the ultimate weapon. It's not about catching legendary Pokemon or defeating an evil team. It's about reckoning with institutional violence, about understanding that some technologies are fundamentally corrupted by their origins, and about learning that progress built on exploitation and death isn't progress at all. Kalos has spent 3,000 years living in the shadow of the ultimate weapon, pretending that Mega Evolution is a gift rather than a scar. Legend ZA is going to be a story about finally confronting that shadow, finally admitting what the weapon did, and finally choosing to move forward without pretending the past doesn't matter. The game is contained entirely within Lumios City because the city is the conflict. Every street is part of the magic circle. Every wild zone is powered by the weapon. Every Mega Evolution you trigger uses energy created through genocide. You can't escape to routes or other towns because there's nowhere to run. The weapon is beneath your feet. The corruption is in the air. The choice between complicity and resistance is constant. And when it's over, when the ultimate weapon is finally gone and Zygarde is resting, and either AZ or Lysandra has found their ending, Lumios City rebuilds. Not through corporate vision or cutting-edge technology, through actual coexistence. Through humans and Pokemon choosing to share space without requiring artificial systems to force it. Through remembering what happened 3,000 years ago and refusing to repeat it. They don't pull back from the implications of what the ultimate weapon represents. This might be the most thematically complex story Pokemon has ever told. Because it's not about adventure or friendship or becoming the very best. It's about confronting generational trauma, about understanding that some mistakes echo for thousands of years, and about learning that the only way forward is to face the past honestly, no matter how much it hurts. But yeah, this was just a theory video linking the story of the upcoming Legends game. I tried to create a watered-down story, which Pokémon always makes, with some of the leaked information to predict the storyline of Legends. Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe, and go subscribe to these two channels where I post competitive Pokemon videos and the other one for more Legends content.